Walker Royce. There's nothing inherently special about these people that make them the high priests and priestesses that are the only few people on planet Earth capable of defining process. That you and I and everybody else with the right education can also roll your own software process, and that is, in fact, the meta process. How do you roll your own process? Well, you understand where you're trying to get to, you understand the headwinds, you understand the tailwinds, and then you build your process around the notion of, I need to get to where I need to get to, and control the risks along the way, and take advantage of the assets along the way. And there's nothing more simpler than that.
I think it's a little bit more complex than that, in the sense that when I start looking at my assets and looking at my risks, first of all, I have to have relatively good skills on risk assessment, relatively good skills in asset assessment, and my assets, I need to have a good enough toolbox, right? It's one thing to say I did my risk assessment and I look at my toolbox and all I have is one type of saw. Well, okay.
Right.
I need cutting. It's the wrong kind of saw, but I still need to cut, and that's the only tool I've got.
Yeah, so this is calling for a certain degree of what I would call professionalism and understanding the toolbox and understanding when each of the tools in the toolbox is appropriate.
Yeah, and this is where I think a lot of software developers are not at right now, unfortunately, in our industry. And we have very little. I mean, even back when process was king and training was in vogue, a lot of people didn't actually build their toolbox, right? Our founder, Steve McConnell, loved to say that the average number of software engineering books that software developers read per year was less than one.
Well, the statistic that I had heard, that if you ask for a typical professional, how many software books do they own? How many professional-oriented books do you own? Then the answer is about 3. And that's books on any topic.
Right, and they probably got them in college and just not thrown them away yet.
Possibly. And
so our toolboxes are really, really slim. Charter risk asset is exactly what's happened. And I think maybe some of those gurus who do have a better toolbox applied a charter risk asset approach and came up with a method that they thought was reasonably okay for most of the people who don't have a toolbox. But yeah, you're absolutely right. We can roll our own. That's why charter risk asset, this meta process, is so powerful. Because not only does it allow you to roll your own, but I think it allows you to investigate what the Schwabers and Schroders and other people actually thought about at the time, right? You can say, what the hell was their assumption? What risk are they trying to address? What assets were they trying to take advantage of? Is that the same toolbox I have? Do I need to enhance my toolbox if I want to use this? Or can I twist it to use the tools I have available and still get a good or better result?
Yeah, I mean, in fact, if you've heard of the name Rebecca Worfs-Brock, she captured the same idea when you look at the values behind an approach. Not just what is the approach, but what are the values behind the approach. And the charter and the risks and the assets are what expose the value system. That gives you a way to be explicit in expressing what the values are behind the process you have chosen. Here's what I need to accomplish. Here are my headwinds. Here are my tailwinds. This is why I'm doing it this way.
So, Steve, if you let's